We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
Everything Theater. Hi there, I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs, and look at us live and in person.
I know, it's so nice to be out here, and we are over here at Proctors Theatre because
Parade is opening up, and it is starting here on its national tour.
doing all the teching in, and we're going to take you backstage and see all the stuff, get some
Oh, it's wild, yeah.
secrets maybe?
Possibly, or at least just a glimpse of this backstage, which is insane. I was telling them that, at Capitol Rep, tech is, a couple monitors in the audience. This is...
This is miles of everything, right? I should also point out, they travel with 4 musicians, right? Was that it? And then they hire 5 in every city, these strings. So there's going to be a number of folks involved here in terms of the music when you come and see the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they head out to 15 cities.
Yep, over 9 months.
I know, they finish up in September.
Yeah, in the DC.
Yeah. It's going to be great. So we're going to go backstage, show you all the stuff, talk to 2 of the stars.
Yeah.
This is an interesting, I think we'll talk to the stars about this. It's a play about hatred, a musical, really about hatred and the other. And we're at a time right now where that has become heightened.
Yes.
So the show means even more.
It's a hard-hitting show.
Yeah. All right, come on. Put your feet up. Get ready. We're going on tour.
So for our listeners, some of them may not be familiar with the show Parade. Can you give us a little introduction to what the show is?
Sure. Parade is the true story of Leo and Lucille Frank. You can give it a Google, but it's a really tragic story that occurred in the early 1900s in Atlanta, Georgia, about the life and untimely death of Leo Frank and the murder of Mary Fagan. You may think, why should this be a musical? Well, I think it's actually a really beautiful way to have this story told and to get audiences thinking. And the score by Jason Robert Brown is I think, one of our most gorgeous and incredible scores in musical theater. So very lucky to be telling the story.
Do you tend to do mostly musical theater?
Yes, that's how my career has shaken out as of now. I've done some straight plays, and I've also done some TV and film. So,
what is it about music? You said that it's kind of surprising that the story is a musical. I would agree that most people would hear the synopsis and say, "What?" But what exactly does the music do that enhances it?
I think you can listen to just the score of this show, take the lyrics out, and just listen to the score and have the story be told as well, that's the mark of a great score, right? I think that it hits us emotionally. It really hits to the heart of what the story is. You can hear the facts, you can see these awful things happening, but it just invokes that pathos response from the audience in the way that only music can.
And tell us a little bit about how you delved into this character, playing, someone who is a living, breathing person, and you're representing that person on stage.
I think whenever I come to a role, usually it's not a character that was a real person, so I have to do a lot of that work to comb through the script and kind of figure out what's what and what choices I'm going to make. And this is really great because I kind of get to cheat a little bit, so I can take all this research that I've done about Lucille Frank, because she was a real person, and use that to inform what I'm doing, and also do the same work that I normally do, combing through a script and score and learning more about her that way. So it's only good because it's just all helps inform the story we're trying to tell.
What about Lucille speaks to you?
Yeah, I mean, so many things. I think that she has a big life change right as the show starts. So she, has come from this kind of privileged family in Georgia, and this, catastrophe happens, and now, this life that she's known about, just being a good wife and kind of just living this life in Atlanta, Georgia, is turned on its head when she has to kind of be alone and prove her husband's innocence. She takes it upon herself to do that. So I think Lucille and I intersect in a lot of ways, one of which is we're both Jewish women around the same age that she was when this whole thing happened. She was in her 20s, and she, did all these incredible things like write to the governor and find out that people had been coached in the trial, like all of these incredible things she took it upon herself to do. And so I intersect with that determination and resilience and strength that she has as well.
Any surprises along the way as you prep this role, either just like about the process of doing a national tour or about the show or character itself?
Yeah, I would say that emotionally, this has been a harder thing for me, especially right now where we are in the world. And it's a really kind of heated time in our country and just in the world. And so there have been times during this process where I've had to step out and be like, okay, let's just take a breath. We're telling the story, it's very important, and then let's come back in. And I've never had to do that.
I'm curious, Parade stays relevant and draws audiences, even at a time when the audience in general is looking for light and uplifting.
Right.
We just saw Swept Away close.
Oh my gosh.
Quickly in New York, a phenomenal show,
Yeah.
but not a happy show. What do you think is the enduring appeal of Parade?
That's a great question, because I do feel that audiences like to go to the theater to escape, but I also feel that it's equally as important audiences go to the theater to learn something about themselves, to have a mirror be held up to them, and that's what people are searching for, whether they know it or not. And I think that with Parade, Alfred and Jason wrote this and they intended it to be a piece of history back in the 90s, and they said even today the show is doing well today, better than it did in the 90s, because it's no longer a piece of history. History is repeating itself before our eyes, and I think that this show is going to teach audiences something about the world and something about themselves, and so it actually becomes way more important to attend, because you're going to learn something about yourself, your community, people around you.
You touched on something really important. We have a lot of actors who listen to the podcast. Self-care.
Yes.
As an actor who is delving into this and also touring and going different places and constantly being low on sleep and then having to do this very emotional show, what's your routine to take care of yourself?
That's a really good question. I'm still figuring it out. With every show that I'm in, right, it's a little bit different because the ask of you is different. And with Parade, certainly the emotional ask is the highest one. And so I think that we've implemented stuff into the process already. We've had an incredible sensitivity and intimacy coach come in and help us to, we call it de-rolling, after we exit rehearsal, after we, we're on a break, and we take group breaths together and release. And so, it's de-rolling is all about when you're finished, figuring out a way to shake it all off and get that character off of you and say, thank you, I'm gonna leave you here, and I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna be Talia and figure out, what I need in this moment. So figuring out how to do that, but that's the joy of touring and figuring out what you need in every different location. So
How many tours have you done?
one. So I've just done the Wicked tour, which is a big one. And that was 6 months pre-pandemic and 6 months post-pandemic. So it's been a little bit. And so I'm excited to be back. Something very different. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful 9 months.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Hi, so I'm Veronica Aglow. I'm the production stage manager of the National Tour of Parade that is starting right here in Schenectady. And now they get to finally incorporate all the sets, all the lighting, all the costumes, all the props for the first time with our entire crew and some wonderful local crew from here in Schenectady. So I'm out here at my tech table at the moment, which has everything that I will need to call the show from Backstage eventually. I'm actually going to move back there tonight to call the show for our final dress run. And I have basically a very similar setup back there to make everything easier. I call the show from this, my call script. It has all my cues on it and looks something like this.
Second time playing Schenectady?
Yes.
So what are we looking forward to coming back?
Well, so my sister lives just outside of Kinderhook. So I love playing Schenectady because it allows me to get some quality time with my sister and my nieces who are very close to here.
Ellen and I were just talking about this play at this time, this musical, and it is fraught with the other and hate and scapegoating. Talk to us as a performer to take this role of Leo at this time.
Yeah, it feels particularly poignant to be leading the cause of this important storytelling. I think it really offers a lens for folks to look at, to kind of examine where they are in their own bias and their own prejudices. And I think it's my hope that people walk away with a little more empathy, kind of thinking about what their neighbor might be going through, what someone that they may have. You know, we are so polarized right now that we're sometimes missing the heart behind it all, because we're all human at the end of the day. Yeah.
What about this role appealed to you, besides a good gig?
Oh, it's such a good gig. I mean, Jason Robert Brown and Alfred Uhry, I think I've written a pretty perfect musical, and so coming to this role with such iconic scenes and songs is really special, and then to get a chance to play a real historic figure is just such a special experience as an actor, because you get to draw upon real historical evidence, pictures, and what people have written about him, and you get to bring that into your own performance, which I think is just a very unique experience. Yeah.
There's a certain kind of responsibility playing a person who was
For sure
alive.
is.
So
Yeah.
Tell us, as you prepared for the role, like, did you do anything you did?
Yeah, there's a giant nonfiction book called And the Dead Shall Rise, which is like a super dense 700-page book. That is a collection of first-hand accounts and any historical documents that they could have found that was kind of strung together by the author Steve Oney. So reading that just helps you set the scene, helps me think about what did he wake up to, what was his day-to-day. And then there's pictures, the pictures that they captured, especially from the courtroom scene. There's just so much emotion in such a little bit of framing that, you know, you get to examine that and think about what's lying underneath, what's the subtext behind everything. So it's preparing is in a way easier, but then the challenge becomes, how do you honor that, and how do you bring a sense of authenticity to the role once you've kind of set those pillars in place.
What number tour is this for you?
I've done 2. This is my second big tour. Yeah, I went out with a show called Bright Star a couple years ago. Yeah.
Now, you're in a suit.
I am.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Now, that's not. I can't imagine that's your normal attire for first thing or before noon.
No.
Is it because of the show?
It's because we're doing press here in Schenectady. Yeah. I want to look sharp.
Well, you do.
Thank you. Thanks.
Have you been to Schenectady before?
I have not. I have not been here. Yeah.
Have you started a tour?
A Broadway tour, or started a tour of Schenectady?
No, I'm sorry. So this tour, this is checking in and then
Yeah,
heading
yeah.
out. Have you been part of a show that started? You worked from
Yes.
start.
Yes. Yeah. I was with Bright Star from its out of town tryout, its Broadway run, and then its first national tour. So yeah.
What are some of the challenges of being on tour?
I think the biggest challenge is kind of finding a way to keep everything as close to like keeping it the same when you're there. You know, there's a lot of different factors coming in. What's the climate like? Is it dry? Is it in high altitude? You know, are you close to the theater? Are you a mile away? And so trying to make sure that you have everything you need to show up and give a consistent performance across the country takes a certain level of skill and a lot of humidifiers and things like that. Yeah.
We've been hearing that from a lot of performers who tour. What about the glycerin spray? Is that one you hide around the stage?
I don't do the glycerin spray. I do the glycerin pastilles. I mean, we all have our things. They're called Grethers pastilles. They've been around for, over 100 years, I think. Everyone has their tips and tricks, but that's my go-to. Yeah.
And you already interviewed with Chris Honorato.
Yeah.
You two could be first cousins.
I know, we really could. Yeah.
Is there any trepidation as you start this?
It's on the Broadway revival, on our first preview, we did have some protesters come to the front of the theater. And I think, you know, as much as that kind of made our hearts race a little bit, it was just a clear sign to me that this is the time to do this piece. And I think I have faith that it will continue to feel that way. I also feel like the cross-section of theater goers and maybe folks that are feeling that impassioned about it, I don't know that they quite have the same overlap. So I'm kind of holding faith to that. Yeah.
Break a leg.
Thank you. Thanks.
So this has been really lovely, being here and in person and hanging out with you, Benita. Checking out Backstage. And yeah, it's amazing. This show is, I mean, I saw it, did you see it on Broadway?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see the tour.
Yeah.
See
I've seen the show twice already, and it never fails to get you right there. So come on down. It's playing here through Saturday.
Yes.
Right? And then it takes off, so get it now.
Absolutely.
And I'm Benita Song.
I'm Ellen Cruz. We'll catch you next time, maybe in person.
Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.